Hello and welcome, developers. My name is Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today, we're going to be talking about arrays in Java. It's basically just a container that holds a set number of a specific data type, one that's you set whenever you're creating the array. So you can set many different data types. It holds this set amount of values that you can then iterate through or look at, just do a multitude of stuff with. But you cannot change, this is important, you cannot change how many values you can hold into an array once you create it. So if you have an integer array of size 5, you're going to hold 5 values in that integer array, and you can't change it to 4 or 6 without creating a new array entirely. Now we're going to create a couple of examples showing you guys how an array works, and then create maybe a method that will print the array, or maybe do some kind of additive process, something like that. And hopefully guys, you'll get an understanding about how to use these arrays. Now this is the basic array. It's not a multi-dimensional array. We're going to be making another video on that. I just don't want these videos to go too long, and keep them kind of short. Alright, so first let's go ahead and create an integer array. So we start by defining the data type, and then use open and close square brackets, and then give it a name. Do int array equals, and we use the new keyword, and then we specify the data type again. And then here we give it how many values that we want to store. So let's go with 5. So this int array is a size of 5, and I can show you that by doing .length and outputting that to the screen. And .length returns an integer value, giving the array that you pass it the integer value of the size. So you'll see after that took just a second though, but it says size 5 like we defined it right here. Now that's one way to declare and initialize an array, but there's also another way. You can use int and do the same square brackets, array 2 equals, and then you can use the curly braces and then automatically start inputting the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these could be like anything, like 126 or 212, 356, 435, and 502. And then make sure you finish it off with a semicolon. And then now if we outputted the same thing here, dot length, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and run it. And then once that builds, yeah, see, we have 2 arrays of size 5. Now since we do have an array of size 5, and like I said, you cannot change how big an array is, let's go ahead and try and change how big an array is and see what happens. So we'll do int r2, and we'll give it an index of 5 equals 34. And while let's go ahead and print out so 5, and it looks good so far, but we get this exception here in the thread main, array index out of bounds exception, index of 5 out of bounds for length 5. So you're like, well, if you're indexing on the point on the 5th point of an array, how is that out of bounds? Well, that goes with how arrays indexing works. So I'm going to start here and put a little comment. Arrays start at index 0 and then count up from there. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for a total of 5 arrays. So if we were to update this now to a 4, and then this also to a 4, and then run this code again, it'll change the 502 to a 34. As you can see, it did that. So hopefully that you understand that you can't change the length of an array once you already create it. You have to create a new array in order for that to work. So besides integers though, you can create arrays using almost anything. Let's see, a char, an array, and an array of characters is how a string works. When you create a string, you're literally just creating an array of characters. And we won't really like dive into that. If you want to learn more about strings, you can check out my string video. And let's see here. So we do char array equals new char of 5. I don't know why all these are 5, but we're just going to keep going with it. And then you could do something like char array index 0 equals a. And remember, if you watch my video on char, these single quotes means char, and if we were to update these to double quotes, we get an error because that means string, the data type, right? String. So then we can do this char 1 equals b, and so forth and so on until we finished out the rest of the array, right? And that's not a very great way, though, I feel like, to input data into an array, but just for showing you guys how an array works, that's what we're gonna do. So how exactly would you print out an array without doing like over and over and over again? Like, so we could control and copy this and do 1, 2, and then print this out that way. So we'll get like 502 a, b, and then empty string or empty character value. Because whenever you specify an array, depending on the type of an array, you're going to get a default value if you haven't specified a value. So in integers, your default value is 0. In other ones, like actually in all numbers, your default value is going to be 0. In Booleans, I believe it's false. I'm not actually sure. We can take a look at that though. We can set a Boolean array. Bool array equals new Boolean array. Let's say 2, and then we can just output bool array 0, and let me put that S there. We're gonna run that again. Let that build, and we get false. So the Boolean default value of their arrays is, false. So it's also important to keep in fact that the array that we're creating is not of type Boolean. It's the fact that it'll only accept data types that are Boolean. So just like the integer, it's a container of values and not values themselves. Even though arrays are considered objects, but they act more like a primitive data type than an object. But they do have some methods built in that you can use to them. So remember this array.length here? That's one of them. Let's continue on with that. You can do int array. You can clone, which will just make a copy of one array. So we pass it the array that we want to make a copy with. So let's do int clone array equals new int value with was it 5, right? Okay. And then let's bring that the text. Okay, so yeah, so we just pass it the clone, and we set clone array equals to, oh, that messed that up a little bit. And then we can output the clone array value in the first index, and it should be 0. Yes, and that is because we did not specify any values into this array, so they're going to default to the 0 int value that Java gives it, and that's exactly what we got. So let's create a method that goes through and prints out an entire array. Now, we haven't really talked about methods yet in this in my video series that I've been creating on this, but we will be talking about that in a near future. So in order to print out arrays, we're usually going to use the for loop, but we could use the while loop as well if we wanted to, but usually speaking, we're going to be using the for loop. So let's go ahead and create a method, and it's not going to return anything, so we can use void. We'll just call it print array, and we'll pass it an integer array, and we'll create a for loop like I mentioned, int I equals 0. And I made a video on for loops if you guys would like to go watch that and learn a little bit more about how those work. We can then use the array.length method that we used earlier to get back an integer value. So if you remember from the video, this is going to has to return a true or false value, and that will. So if I is less than the array.length, then it'll return back true. If not, it'll return false, and we'll get out of the array. So we'll do an output command. The element I is a value of array I, and that's it. That's all we need to do. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to comment out a lot of this. And then we're going to use it right here. So we're going to print array.to. So see, all I gotta do is type in P, and it IntelliJ finds my method right here of print array, and I can type it out, and then pass it the value that I need. So it needs an integer array, so it'll be int array2, and let's go ahead and print that out. Boom. Element 0 is a value of 126. So remember here we start with 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Even though we have 5 values, it starts at the number 0. And it's passed us all our values correctly: 126, 212, 356. Here, let me make this a little bigger. So 126, 212, 356, 435, and 502. So that's awesome. We can print through a value. We can also do some other stuff. We can like get the sum of the values, or get an average of the values. There's quite a bit we could do. We can also though pass a string. So if we wanted to do a string equals, let's do first string, second string, and third string. We could do that too, and then we could override this print array. And I know we've definitely never talked about overrides, but we'll talk about this in another video. And we pass it a string array, And basically we can just copy this right here. I might not actually need to override it. There we go. And then we can do print array again. And instead of the integer, we can pass it a string array, and it'll output the values of the string. So you see, element 0 is value of first string, element 1 is value of second string, element 2 is the value of third string. So hopefully you can see how the use of methods and then arrays can help benefit each other a little bit. And for now, we're just going to leave it at that. Later on, I've got videos coming on multi-dimensional arrays, and they are a bit more complicated, but still not that bad to learn. So hopefully you guys stick around and check out that video as well. If you'd like to help me, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you're trying to learn with a comment in the video. Maybe I can help you out and make a video on that as well. Otherwise, I've also got a book that I've published on Amazon called HTML5 Learning and Reference Guide. I know that has nothing to do with Java, but it may help you later on whenever we're creating websites using Java. That'll be further on in the in my video collections on Java, but those will be coming. Anyway, so that'll also, though, like I said, be helpful. It's $2.99 on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description. Other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to helping you in the future. And you guys take care. Peace.